Hello, I'm Nicole Dravilis Fravel. Welcome to Wildwood Teaching. For the past few weeks, we have been talking about how to make your outdoor group times, whatever you're doing as a group, circle time, morning meetings, story times, how to make them engaging so that you can overcome all of the distractions that might be happening outside that take your children's attention away from what the group is doing. We're very excited today because we are going to talk about story hikes. And one of the ways that you can make your group times engaging is to either enhance or get away from the books. It's okay to not always use a book to tell a story. Children are still going to get the literary language. They are still going to get story sequencing. They are still going to get plot. They are still going to get characterization and theme and tone. If the story is told orally, as opposed to a picture book. And they might even have some additional enhancements of being able to use their imaginations to make pictures in their brain, enhancing their listening skills. So, story hikes. And yes, I am calling it a hike, but it doesn't have to be a hike. You don't have to go in one direction in the forest. You can go around in circles in a small yard, whatever you have. Adapt what I'm saying to what you have. The basic idea is that you are going to choose a book, a story that has a nature element to it, something outside. It has a repetitive structure. It's easier to remember and it makes more sense as you're walking around. And that has some sort of a journey aspect to it. And then you can either do it as your initial telling of the story or a retelling of the story that you are going to lead the children to walk around as you are telling the story. Now, I don't suggest carrying a picture book with you and telling a story. So it either needs to be a story that you are incredibly familiar with, that has that repetitive structure so that you can remember the story, or sometimes I just type out little notes on a piece of paper for me. So, for example, if I were doing a house for hermit crab, I would just put a little note each time about which character the hermit crab was meeting and maybe what they were adding to hermit crab's house. So, a quick 3 words for each part of the story, just to jog my memory as we are walking around telling the story. So I'm going to give you a few examples of stories that I have done that lend themselves easily to story hikes. There are multiple examples. So, as you're listening, hopefully this gives you some ideas of, oh yeah, I can use that book. Oh, I've got one. So, uh, another advantage of this is some of these books require no prep, no, nothing to bring with you but your body, the children's body, and what you are finding outside. And so one of those could be The Very Hungry Caterpillar, where you are walking along. You're going to pretend, right, that you and the children are the caterpillars. And, early one morning, a little egg lay on a leaf. Everybody's going to get their little egg and lay on a leaf. And then all of a sudden, pop, a tiny caterpillar popped out of the egg and began to search for some food. And at that point, you're going to lead a line snaking around whatever area you have, picking up actual natural objects from the ground or pretending to pick up natural objects from the ground. The caterpillar was very hungry. On Monday morning, he found one juicy apple. And you're going to go along as the story goes. It could be fun at the end when the caterpillar has its big feast to spread out a picnic blanket and either have pretend food or items that you've gathered along the forest, and go ahead and have that feast in a stationary circle before you curl up into your cocoon to change into butterflies. You could also do a story where you are um, walking out and walking back home, right? And so obviously, going on a bear hunt lends itself easily to that. For going on a bear hunt, you either are going to want some natural terrain that lends itself to being the tall grass, the muddy field, the water feature, or sometimes they just have a simple backpack with me that has, leaf confetti that I can throw up for snow and sprinkle over the children. So I'm thinking about props as I go along. And then somewhere in my backpack is a little stuffed bear. And when we find the stuffed bear, he just easily comes out of my backpack and goes somewhere on the forest so that we can look at the bear on the forest. There are also many different versions of going on a bear hunt. Going on a leaf hunt is one that, again, works well for outside. If you have a forest that you can snake through and just naturally each child picks one leaf up off the ground or one leaf off of a tree as you're walking, you can do that. Or if you are going in a circle around a yard, and just set up piles of leaves at different points in the circle, and each child picks up a leaf from that pile as you walk past it. And again, this is another one where I might have a blanket or my white sheet spread out at the end, where after the children have collected the leaves, we can gather around the blanket and do some sort of activity with the leaves, whether it's a math activity, patterning, whether it's a science activity where I have magnifying glasses and we're going to look at the parts of the leaf, or whether it's a storytelling activity that now we have the leaves and we're going to tell our new story about what we do with the leaves once we have reached our destination and done that collection. Those are examples of walking through the forest. Another example of a story that lends itself easily to kind of a dramatic retelling outside is The Three Little Pigs. And for this, I usually go to whatever my destination is. Again, it could be in the forest, it could be the yard. And we stop at the point where the pigs are building their houses, and the children build some houses because they are the three little pigs. And they build the houses. They can build it by themselves. They can build it in partners. They can build it in groups. I usually leave it up to them. And then we kind of choose roles. It is helpful if the teacher is a wolf because it kind of leads the story along if the teacher is a wolf. But other than that, we don't limit ourselves to 3 pigs. The children can be pigs. Some of the children can be wolf along with the teacher. And then we just act out going to each of the houses, trying to blow it down. The pigs run to the next house. and we attempt to blow it down. We go through the story that way. The Three Billy Goats Gruff, very similar, right? You could be building bridges or finding structures in the forest where children can climb over, knowing which piece they are. And again, you don't need three goats, you don't need just one troll. But again, it helps if the teacher is that troll character because it helps to move the story along. Um, Stone Soup is another one where we've set out the blanket ahead of time. And again, the teacher is the villager who comes to the village, who says, does anybody have anything that they can add to my soup? And then the children can go find something natural that's on the ground that you pretend is something that goes into your soup. So just to recap, pretty much any story with that kind of repetitive sequence to it that has a journey aspect to it can work as a story hike. And remember, it doesn't have to be a hike. If you have a forest to snake through, fantastic. If you don't, circles in an outdoor area work just as well. I like to have stories where you can tell the story and then have a gathering at the end that builds on something that you've done in the story. If you've collected things for the stone soup, for example, again, you can use that to tell the story of your feast once you have it, or you can use it for some math or science activities once you have that collection. So use some of these examples, use it as a springboard to come up with some of your ideas. And I would love to hear some of your story ideas. I have mine in a PDF for you, but that is so not an exhaustive list. There are a couple of other books that I've added to that list that might work as well. But I would love to hear what other books you come up with. So get in touch on Facebook, get in touch on Instagram. Let us know what books that you found work well for your story hikes or just ones that you think you want to try out. And then I will see you back here next week when we will be talking about doing group times with slightly younger ages, with toddlers instead of preschoolers. I will see you there.